It's a new era at West Coast, a break in tradition for today's captaincy announcement with a 35-year first, and we're going to unpack it right here on the West Sports Show. My name's Chris Robinson, joined by Mitch Woodcock. And Mitch, big day down at the Eagles. There's a bit of everything today.
There was so much, Chris. Thanks for having me, obviously. It's just a massive day, the captaincy announcement, some additions to the leadership group, a little bit of injury news after a 4-day break for them. We're just going to unpack it all here.
The injury news you're alluding to there, Brady Hough, we'll touch on that a little bit later on. But the biggest news out of West Coast today, everyone wanted to know what their captaincy, what their leadership group was going to look like. Obviously, Oscar Allen departing, that we all knew about over the past few months. But it's Liam Baker who is the man to join Liam Duggan as co-captains for the Eagles next season. Part of a 7-man leadership group, so no vice-captains. The 2 co-captains joined by Jake Waterman and Jack Graham retain their places from last year. And then Ruben Ginbey, Brandon Starcevich and Matt Flynn round out the rest of the leadership group. Let's start with the captains, the 2 Liams getting the nod. In your opinion, Mitch, first of all, is this the right call? And second of all, how do you think they sort of came to this decision?
Yeah, it is the right call in my mind. Liam came over here basically under Andrew McQualter when he got the job in 2024. Touted for a long time, but I think that really helped. He came over here with Jack Graham to add toughness, leadership, help set standards, and he's done that in spades. He won the club champion last year in his first year, played every game, played half forward, wing, midfield, half back, small defender, did everything. And look, the writing was on the wall, to be honest with you, when he led the club in the last 2 games of last season when Duggan was suspended and Oscar Allen was out with injury. Pretty much from then on in was a fait accompli. The players voted him in, the coaches voted him in, and then the board ratified it this week. So I think this has been a long time coming. If you'd asked me when Oscar Allen had left how it would look next year, I would have said the 2 Liams would have been co-captains, and it's come to fruition.
Well, I mentioned off the top a bit of a break in tradition. So the past 10 permanent captains before Liam Baker at West Coast, so Duggan obviously, Oscar Allen, Luke Shuey, Shannon Hearn, Darren Glass, Chris Judd, Ben Cousins, Dean Kemp, Guy McKenna and John Worsfold, all started their career at West Coast. So not since Steve Malaxos in 1990 have West Coast had a captain who had previously played for a rival club before taking the captaincy there. So a bit of a break in tradition for West Coast, but clearly he's made a real impact in those sort of 12 to 18 months.
I love when you come up with those stats, Robbo. They're my favourite. I always love it. I can't wait for a 6-pack of IPA to be back during the footy season. Yeah, no, and it is. It's what he came over here for. He was the vice-captain at Richmond when he left as well. He finished top 10 in their best and fairest, I think, the previous 5 years. A rookie that missed out in his draft year, changed WAFL clubs from West Perth to Subiaco under Jared Schofield, got drafted, did the hard way, won 2 flags. He knows what it's like to have success. He knows what it's like to lead, and he's what he's here to do. So, like I said, I think it was always inevitable. I think they've made the right choice. Interestingly, there's no vice-captain. I suppose when you've got co-captains, it's very rare. We saw it last year with Allen again injured and Duggan suspended, but it's very rare you don't have both of them on the park. So I can understand that point, but you could easily also see if that happened, a Jake Waterman being able to quite step up quite comfortably. And I think he would be the next person to kind of come through as that vice-captain-esque.
Yeah. So let's talk about Duggan, the other side of the captaincy coin here. Obviously, extremely difficult circumstances to begin his captaincy career at West Coast with everything that was going on at the club. But he's got 3 Best Clubman awards, which I think shouts out in spades just what the playing group and what his peers think of him. You've obviously been around the Eagles camp a hell of a lot over the past few years. Mitch, what have you seen about Liam Duggan that makes him so popular and so suited to this role?
Well, he's one of the last remnants too of that 2018 premiership, Robbo. And I reckon I've spoken to Liam Duggan before he was captain and right through the last 3 or 4 years over 20 times. He's just a leader of men. He is fantastic. He bleeds West Coast. I don't know this for certain, but I have no doubt other clubs from Victoria where he's from Bacchus Marsh, remember, that would have come calling for him. He is a talented player. Is he the best player at the Eagles? No, he's probably not anywhere near that area, but he's reliable. He does a role. He does a selfless role. And I just think the way he does things, the way he leads by example, the way he talks, the way he displays, it's what West Coast need. It's what the young fellas need. There's been a bit of a narrative, probably since the middle of last year, when kind of Liam Baker, Allen was one foot out the door almost, and it was kind of accepted he was going to Brisbane as a free agent. It's kind of a narrative shift that, Liam Baker should be the sole captain of West Coast, and I've just never liked it. Liam Duggan played a lot of last year with a banged-up knee. As soon as he got suspended, they took him for the last 2 games. They took him in and had it cleaned out straight away. He's brave. I've seen him strapped up after games like you wouldn't believe. Just legs, arms, everything, and playing through injury. He's been fantastic for that club through a very difficult time. He's been the one constant. He led them well through the Adam Simpson departure. He led them well through Jared Schofield's interim coaching reign, and he's led the transition for the playing group through Andrew McQualter. So I think it's entirely unfair. And unless he wanted to give the captaincy up, to strip a player of a captaincy is a massive thing. The only one I can think of that kind of worked was Sam Mitchell back in the day at Hawthorn with Luke Hodge. And even then, that's extreme circumstances. So, yeah, I think it's the perfect situation. And I think they complement each other quite well. Liam Baker's that larrikin kind of knockabout country kid. Duggan's in a similar mould. Baker's very intense on the field, whereas Duggan is as competitive as anybody, but I would say would be less confrontational in those aspects of it. I think they're gonna blend very well, especially across halfback.
Yeah, a lot to be said for that continuity in a time of real change and upheaval at West Coast as well. Before we chat about the rest of the leadership group, a word from our great supporters of the pod in West Coast Hi-Fi, where a shipment of the award-winning Bowers & Wilkins PX7 S2E noise-cancelling headphones has just landed in Australia. The quality is outstanding, and they're available exclusively from West Coast Hi-Fi for just $429. That's right, $429. Hurry in and feel the experience this summer at West Coast Hi-Fi. So the rest of the leadership group, Mitch, as I mentioned off the top, 5 names in there. Waterman, no great surprise, and obviously Jack Graham as well. They keep their spots there. But let's talk a little bit about the 3 new guys. So Ruben Ginbey is the young gun in that group. Brandon Starcevich, bit of a no-brainer coming from a premiership club in Brisbane. And then Matt Flynn might be the one that surprises some Eagles fans. He's kind of been a little bit in and out. He's only played 22 games at West Coast over a couple of years, in and out of the side a couple of times last year. What do you think? Let's start with Matt Flynn. What do you think about him? It is about him that resonates so well with the playing group.
Yeah, he's a leader of young men too, though. Like, you talk to people about West Coast and you talk to a lot of the young fellas around there, and Matt Flynn is someone they lean on heavily. He's someone who has them over for dinners. He's someone who talks to them about football and life. He's a very mature man. He comes from a very good system in Greater Western Sydney. First year at the Eagles was injury-riddled. Last year, I thought by the end of the year, he'd really taken a big step. And I think his fitness levels this pre-season, from what I've seen, are the best I've seen him at. He's shed a couple of kilos without losing a heap of muscle. He looks strong. He looks fit. And he's just very vocal. And also, I think they needed someone in the midfield to be that voice. You look at the leaders they've put in there. A lot of them are from the back line, Jake Waterman from the forward line, and then, Matt Flynn's that ruckman in the middle. So I think they needed that as well. But, he very much a tactically sounded man who really resonates with that young group. So I'm not actually that shocked, to be completely honest.
Yeah, and Ruben Ginbey, as I said, the youngest member of that group. You've written an analysis piece that's just hit thewest.com.au this afternoon about why this could be a bit of a signpost to the future at West Coast. Not necessarily maybe the next captain in waiting, but certainly a future captain contender. What is it about Ginbey that has really ticked the boxes? He's
just got that aura of that intangible leadership quality that you just seem to have, that you're born with, or that you develop maybe in your personality. His standards, it's his 4th season coming up, but his standards are elite. Like, we talk about the size of that young man at 21 quite a lot. But, there's times where West Coast have to hold him back at training during pre-season, especially early on, because he comes back after surfing down south and eating God knows what, and he comes back bulked up enormous in a good way. And it's like they've got to deload him a little bit because they're worried he's going to train himself into the ground. That's
my problem as well. Just getting too huge.
Yeah, just getting too big, of course. Too much protein. But he is just that excellent standard. And I really think he is that leader. And it says a lot too, because Harley Reid's recommitted and is arguably the most talented youngster in that group. But he's not in that leadership group. Brady Hough is just as reliable and a little bit older than Ruben, and is not in that leadership group. There is some young talent coming through that is showing leadership traits. Noah Long, they rated very highly, probably more so has to get his spot back in the side first and foremost. Ruben Ginbey just excelled last year in the back line, runner-up in the Club Champion Award, took on tasks of taking on the likes of Charlie Curnow, Jeremy Cameron, and just did it excellently. Did it to the best of his powers in a new role. And I think, like you said, I really do think it's a sign of the future. I think they're earmarking him for a leadership role. I know they brought a bunch of young guys through their leadership meetings late in the season when it looked like Alan was going and they needed to start developing. And from all reports, he's not afraid to be a leader. He's not afraid to be vocal. He is quietly spoken in one manner, but he's a very confident young man in another. And I think it's a real development phase for him, and I think it's going to be great for him. He'll be able to develop under those 4 other guys in a great way. And yeah, I really do think whether it's the next captaincy roll through or whether it's the one after, I really do think at one stage we will see Ruben Ginbey, if this trajectory keeps going, leading the Eagles full time.
We mentioned the breaking injury news off the top. Let's go into that now. So Brady Hough, very, very important player at West Coast, 5th in the best and fairest last year. We know how good he has been for them. Appeared to hurt an ankle this morning during a contested marking drill. You were down there, Mitch. What did you see, and what's the latest on how West Coast are handling it?
Always an interesting one, these ones, Robbo, because there's lots of different drills happening on these sort of training sessions. Sure. So you're trying to keep up, and you don't really see everything. I didn't see it specifically, but of course, I looked to my left and saw him being picked up and rolling around on the floor, quite in pain. By the looks of it, he's landed awkwardly on his right ankle and fallen straight to the ground, taken away. We understand we've had it confirmed, from the Eagles that he's going to have scans this afternoon and an update in the next few days. Scans instantly put you a little bit of worry, obviously. Ankles are hard. The immediate pain is always there because of the joint, whether it's a syndesmosis or some kind of fracture or just some ligament damage or even just a rolled ankle. They're going to do the precautionary stuff. But yeah, look, I think he was earmarked for a roll back down back. We know he played a lot in the midfield from about early last year to the end. They wanted to try him there. I don't think it worked as well as they thought it would. I didn't mind having a look, but I
didn't mind him having a look. I think the right call is down back.
He's shown previously with guys like Charlie Cameron, and Tom Hapley that he has the ability to shut down those players. And with Brendan Starcevich coming over and looking to be more of an attacking role, you've got Liam Baker and Liam Duggan back there. You really do need that shutdown player of someone with speed who can take on a Pickett, a Papley, a Cameron, an Isaac Rankin sort of player, and Brady Hough is that man. So it could be a big blow for the Eagles if he's out. We'll have to wait and see, but their back line was kind of looking like their strongest line this year, and it sounds weird saying that considering Tom Barrass left 18 months ago and they lost Jeremy McGovern to a concussion last year, sadly. But Tyler Young looks really good. Harry Edwards has put on some size. Sandy Brock, Rhett Bazzo. There's a little bit of depth there in the key defensive post. Probably still a bit of a question mark over it. But with Starcevich, Duggan, Baker, Hough and Ginbey, you really had 5 reliable guys down there. And you're starting to wonder now if one of those go down, how much weaker that is and who comes in next. So, yeah, let's wait and see, but not great signs.
Not ideal. What are we? Fraction over 6 weeks from West Coast season opener. Not exactly what you want with one of your most important players, as we said there. Before we finish up with a really interesting WAFL story that you had, Mitch, a quick message from our friends at Kidman. For over a century, Sydney Kidman stood for cattle, courage and country, a man who built his life on the strength of the land and the people who worked it. Today, Kidman carries that legacy forward with boots and clothing designed for resilience and authenticity. Each Kidman piece reflects the rugged elegance of the Australian landscape, made to be lived in, and their boots are crafted from premium cow yearling leather with Goodyear welt construction and a trampoline core insole for all-day comfort and endurance. It's just a better boot. Explore the collection today at kidman.com. Now, Mitch, Ash Johnson, this is a great story, exclusive story by you at thewest.com.au yesterday. Well worth a read if you haven't already, and was later confirmed by the club on Wednesday afternoon. Ash Johnson, 2 months into his time at West Coast, talking about their WAFL reserve side, of course, has decided to leave. What can you tell us about this story? How did you come across it, and what do you think it all means?
Yeah, this time of the year, I spent a lot of time talking to a lot of people throughout the WAFL, looking for who's signing and, SSPs, got guys going, and made a few calls yesterday and found out that Ash Johnson was looking to go back to South Australia, so made a few more calls and confirmed up that, he's decided he wants to play back in Sturt for personal reasons. Signed a 2-year contract with West Coast WAFL side. It was a big blow to their WAFL team.
Sure.
They've only won 11 games in the past 5 seasons. They've been wooden spooners every year. This team was looking to be a bit stronger this year. The AFL assistance package that allowed him to have 4 more rookies and get Finn McRae, Devon Robinson and Harry Schoenberg, all of a sudden added a bit of depth and experience depth to West Coast, especially in that midfield area. Ash Johnson kind of was going to be that player where he could play as a tall forward, he could play as a small forward, he could play as a high flyer. It was a bit of an invaluable player in that area and could really add some experience alongside, Callum Jamison, who they've recruited, Archie Watts, Sam Cipriani from Tongala, Harley Reid's good mate, has also come over. So there's a little bit building there for Kyle Horsley, the Subiaco champion, who's the coach of the Eagles WAFL side. So for him to go, it's a massive deal. He signed a 2-year deal and is now gone. So it's a real big blow. It's also interesting, the last time I saw this was only 18 months ago when Nick Roker left Swan Districts to return back to Norwood in the SANFL with a year left on his contract. West Coast have, from what I understand, are going to release him on compassionate grounds and it's going to be the right thing.
Okay.
But it's a big blow for them. And West Coast WAFL side is really important. We've seen the inability to develop players to the standard of other clubs because of this lack of strength for their WAFL side. And that's no disrespect to some of the young players that are running through there that aren't part of the AFL program. But put simply, without the bigger bodies and the more experience around them, a lot of the younger guys are being left to carry that load.
Yeah, there's a flow-on effect, isn't there?
And it's massive on their development. Yep. You look at the way Fremantle do it with Peel Thunder. You've got guys like Ben Hancock, Blair Bell previously, being able to be experienced players around the younger guys and kind of protect them and help them so they didn't have to be the main man. Whereas last year, Tom Gross was their best midfielder. It was his first year. Harvey Johnston was their best wingman. Job Shanahan was playing at centre-half back before he got a gig in the AFL. There's a lot of different factors to this. Harry Barnett, I argue, has been really impacted actually by their lack of WAFL talent because he's played forward, back and ruck, and I wonder if he played in a team where he was second ruck to develop or even played reserves, how far his development might have gone since then. It's one of those questions we'll never have answered. So to lose someone like him actually really has a roll-on effect. So I'm curious to see where they go with this. They do struggle to recruit players. I've gone over the reasons why multiple times. It isn't a club as such. It's a team that is split between the AFL and the non-AFL players. And I know West Coast are trying to bridge these gaps and fix these issues, but losing a player like him will really hurt.
Well, as always, Mitch, anything Eagles, you're all over it. We'll let you get out of here, mate. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks, Robbo.
And to our listeners, thank you for your company as well. And remember, you can stay tuned to all of the latest breaking news and analysis at thewest.com.au. We'll chat to you next time.